Okay, so I know this looks a little bit daunting, and it can be, but I'm hoping I can give you kind of the lowdown on the biochemistry of alcohol metabolism. And then I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the more down-to-earth issues with alcohol. And I think it's good to start with the science, because then we can couch all of the other more practical things with some sort of explanation, in the science. So what I've got up here is a couple of things, and I think I'll start with the basics in the background. Gracie will tell us that this is metabolism going on in the liver. So you can see I've kind of drawn a big green liver there. It's green because it's detoxifying ethanol. And what we can see is going on in here are basically the pathway called glycolysis, which is the pathway by which sugar is broken down in the liver. And the breakdown product of that is pyruvate, but pyruvate can be further broken down in what we call the TCA cycle. So at a very fundamental level, what do those two pathways do for us?
They create ATP.
Yep, you got it. And ATP, baby, is energy, right? It is what powers all of our activities, everything we do. And so we could write in here some of the places where ATP is made. ATP gets pumped out from this sweet high energy molecule right here. So, and from this one right here, even higher in energy. And then over in the TCA cycle, it's another ATP that gets made right here. And in fact, even more ATP can get made from what we call the ETC, which are a bunch of membrane-spanning compounds in the mitochondrion. So the mitochondrion at its most fundamental level, what do we call it sometimes in biology? What does it do for us?
Energy.
Energy. It's the powerhouse of the cell. So the mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell. So these complexes that span the membrane make even more energy for us. Together they're called the electron transport chain, and they pump out massive, massive quantities of ATP. So lots and lots of energy comes from these pathways. And at a most fundamental level, glucose, right, comes from what? The food we eat. So, all that good pasta that you break down, or, even your double mocha, Jamocha almond fudge milkshake, or whatever it is, has glucose in it, right, sugar. So energy, glucose is energy converted into a form of energy we like the best, ATP, powers our cells, right? So lots of power coming from these pathways. So let's turn our attention then to what happens when you drink alcohol. And ethanol is, of course, the kind of alcohol we like the best. So this is our 40 or whatever it is. For me, this is my glass of Cabernet, swishing through my veins and getting picked up by the liver. And the liver is our detox center. So it's crazy because not only is the liver our food storage and breakdown center, it's like the food bank of the cell. It also is the detox center. So the liver takes on a lot of responsibilities: food storage, food synthesis, fat synthesis, as well as detox. So liver's doing a lot of roles. So picture here now, it's starting to take on the detox role. So ethanol goes to your liver from your bloodstream, and it gets converted into something called acetaldehyde. And this right here is the enzyme that makes it all happen. It's called alcohol dehydrogenase. So I put a big shiny star around it because when you're praying to the porcelain goddess, what you should actually start doing is saying, go ADH, go ADH, because this is the enzyme that is literally detoxifying your massive amounts of alcohol. So I joke with my students that this is the enzyme. If they don't remember any other enzymes' names, they should remember this one, because then even when they're drunk, they'll start to thank it, because it really is the thing that makes detox possible. So combined with ADH, which converts your alcohol into acetaldehyde, then your acetaldehyde gets shipped into the mitochondrion, where it gets further detoxified. There's another enzyme called ALDH2, which is aldehyde dehydrogenase. Those of you who have an Asian friend who can't hold liquor at all, guess what? ALDH2 is the enzyme that he lacks or she lacks. So this is common for some people to not be able to make this step from acetaldehyde to acetate very well, and that is somewhat regional. So what happens now, though? Okay, so let's look at the shining star here, because after you've had, you know, I don't know, a 12-pack of Keystone Light. It's a good thing it's light. What's the other one that's even
PBR.
cheaper than Keystone? There's another one that's cheaper. I don't know. Anyway, PBR, it's coursing through the veins, and that's quality beer. And, and so what happens? Okay, this is the shining light, but the silver lining behind however many, the keg that you down. And now this acetate can enter into catabolism. So this molecule actually enters right here into the breakdown of food products, right? And it heads on into the TCA cycle. So what does that mean about your beer? Say it, Erica. Energy, okay? So theoretically, yeah, I mean, you know, you're now on the beer pong table, Gracie, getting down, and you're like, totally have energy for this, because I know that my beer is now entering into the top of my TCA cycle, shooting out lots of ATP and giving me lots of wonderful energy. So you're feeling really good. But before you do a little dance, here's something that's not so good. Because as it turns out, as ethanol is getting detoxed, it forms another molecule. This molecule is called NADH. Notice over here, it's producing a lot of NADH2 as it gets detoxified. So NADH, not that you need to know this, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, in its reduced form, is a molecule that represents more energy, actually. Okay, so okay, this is pretty good, because it turns out this NADH can run its electrons to the electron transport chain and dump them off at the ETC, where they represent even more energy, right? And this is good, okay? More power from your beer. But here's a problem, because as it turns out, this NADH is a feedback inhibitor of the TCA cycle. Yeah, not so good. So now what happens? It's like a traffic jam. It's like being in Denver during rush hour. The TCA cycle sort of starts accumulating just like that, right? One molecule right after the next, slows down, stops, and guess what? If the TCA stops, the ETC stops. I know, and you kind of like hit that dancing table on the beer pong table, not so good, right? Everything slows down. Next morning, you're out running, everything feels a little slow, right? And the TCA has slowed down, fed back inhibit, so it's no longer moving along very well. Oh, damn. That means if the TCA cycle slows, this acetyl-CoA has nowhere to go, right? Nowhere